Alright, our second last video is on society and human dignity. So this one should be a little more brief. Basically, we're called, because we are made in God's image, we need to do our part to bring the Spirit of God to the world. We need to live together in our shared life in union with God and with each other. Love for neighbor is not separable from love for God. They are inseparable. They are two peas in a pod. Loving God and loving neighbor are hand in hand. We are bound together with other humans by a principle of unity. We live in societies or gatherings of people that have been passed down through the generations, cities that are full of people who generationally have never moved away. We form loyalties to one another, loyalties to our communities, to our families, and we really try to advance the common good of our own societies. Society is for humans necessary. Some societies we need in order to survive. So the basic nuclear family, the state, and other voluntary societies also help us reach our goals and all our ultimate potential, whether that's social, economic, recreational, professional, political. There's other groups and societies that we can engage in, a sports team is a society, a job where, that you have with you and your coworkers, that's a society. And societies are an opportunity for humans to grow together and live together in love and unity, but they also can create a dangerous environment if they limit personal freedom or personal initiative. So the church follows a principle of subsidiaries, which basically is the concept that central authorities and government should not interfere with smaller local societies without serious purpose or cause. Central authorities should also support local societies as much as possible and help them to contribute to the common good. And no state or larger society should impose itself on individuals or families or local communities. And larger societies should not substitute themselves or take the place of the initiative and responsibility of individuals or smaller groups. So what that boils down to is that the little fish in the pond should not get pushed out by the big fish or eaten by the big fish or kept from eating by the big fish. Larger societies, larger groups need to live peaceably alongside and in support of smaller groups as well. As a society, there is a really wide variety of fulfillment of human vocations. We have an interior spiritual dimension to ourselves, and we have an exterior physical dimension. And within society, we are able to share our knowledge, exercise our civic rights, our civic duties, like voting and free speech, and we are inspired to live by our values. We can contribute to and appreciate things like beauty, music, theater, nature, art. We follow a set of common laws for order in society, and we share the spiritual dimension as far as our faith and our treatment of other people to make our shared life better and more noble. We live within a universal church. Again, Catholic means universal. And just like we are members of a universal church, we are citizens of a global society, and we are required to work for justice and change where it needs to happen, in places that don't honor and respect human dignity and human life. We need grace, we need love, courage, wisdom, charity, respect for others. And we really need to seek justice and human rights for everyone and be willing to sacrifice for the common good. You may have heard the phrase, no man is an island. Basically means none of us exist by ourselves, and everybody kind of needs to give a little to get a little. You have to be willing to give of yourself, to contribute to a society that gives back to you. Obviously, though, we also have authority within our society. We have a government. Pardon my hair for a second. And all societies do need a legitimate authority to kind of preserve the institutions of that society, to care for everybody, to make sure that everybody has what they need. And this is from small societies like the family, where, one parent or both parents might be the authority in that small household society. And it might be a nation where you have larger authority like president, senate, Congress. But authority and the concept of having a person of authority derives from God. We are called to respect those who lead us as long as they are deserving of it. We should be grateful and show goodwill to the people that act on our behalf.
Do you have anything for the post?
We believe as a church that the choice of who rules a society belongs to the citizens of that society, aka democracy, and that governments don't derive their authority from themselves, but from the people who, voted them into power. So governments have a responsibility to follow the natural law and social norms, to seek public order, and to defend everybody's rights. Catholic Church doesn't believe in dictatorships. It doesn't believe that people should have any freedoms or responsibilities taken away from them. And that authority is bound to seek the common good and also to use moral means to accomplish the common good. Again, you can't do something bad with the expectation of good coming from it. It is also important to note that as much emphasis as the church does place on authority, no one needs to obey laws from an authority figure if those laws are immoral. Power in a government should be balanced, kind of like how in America here we have, our 3 branches of government. Same kind of concept. And we should all be working for the common good. We have a common good, which is the sum of all of our social conditions that let people as a group or individuals live lives that are full and happy and have opportunities for happiness. We have to respect other people's dignity and freedom, that they're allowed to follow their vocation, that they're allowed to follow their conscience. They have privacy, they have a freedom to worship. We also have to recognize that common good is based in the development of the group itself. The group, whatever group it is, needs to have the common good of its members and others in mind. It also requires peace that will result eventually in security and social order. And that the role of the state is to defend and promote that common good and to work collaboratively with other states or nations to really seek the good of those that don't really have a voice to advocate for themselves, like the poor, refugees, migrants, people who are victims of war, of genocide, poverty, people who really, really need assistance. Each of us is called to participate as much as possible in the world today. Participation is inherent to dignity, and we need to take the initiative to take charge of our personal needs, like our education, our work, our caring for our own property. And we need to find a way to live out our vocation in this shared life and common good. We need to demand honesty and accountability from our government. We need to remain informed about what's going on in the world to our sisters and brothers. We need to promote justice and humane conditions for all people. We need to respect dignity and rights of others. And we need to make sure that we are doing our part to care for people who are suffering or disadvantaged. And that applies to everybody. It doesn't just apply to our immediate neighbors or people that we know. It also applies to people who live or think or act differently from us. The common good does not discriminate. There is no prejudice in the common good. It is something that is deserved by everyone. So we also are called to be tolerant of other cultures and to appreciate other cultures in the world. Lastly, we need to work in solidarity. So recognizing that we're all part of one human family. And by living as Christ did and sharing our spirituality and our blessings of faith and acting with respect and love for others, we are able to seek improvements in the world so that everybody's experience here on earth can be better. And that can be, fair distribution of goods and materials, being paid a fair wage, having just laws, getting rid of having such wide, economic disparity where you have people who are very, very poor and very, very rich, and really just uniting people peaceably where we are talking and negotiating instead of making war.